everything that you want out of life is possible if you believe in it more. And it doesn't mean just pray and it's going to come true. You got to do the work. What do you want out of life? Where do you want to go? You know you don't like your life right now, but you don't know what you want. You have a hard time making a list of goals. Look at who you're jealous of and try to pinpoint, well, what is the thing that you're actually jealous of? Because that's a directional signal towards creating a better life for yourself. I believe that the ideas that come to you when you're feeling bold, powerful, courageous are actually the right ones for you. If you're listening to this episode and you're feeling pumped up, like, oh my God, this is amazing. You've kind of raised your energy level. Whatever comes to your mind next, I believe, is the right thing for you.
To say Evan is an internet entrepreneur is a huge understatement. Evan Carmichael believes in people. He believes in entrepreneurs, and that's why I so resonate with him. Gary Vaynerchuk has described Evan as the DJ who inspires people. And Evan just gets on the screen and I feel inspired, and I'm sure you will too. Evan runs a YouTube channel for entrepreneurs that has, you ready for this? A mere 2 million subscribers and over 3 million viewers. And before I tell you about his books, let me tell you, at 19, he built and sold a biotech software firm. At 19 years old, most of us were just trying to figure out how to put our right foot in front of our left foot. At 22, he was a venture capitalist, helping startups raise funds ranging from $500,000 to $15 million. And he now runs evancarmichael.com for entrepreneurs, because this is a man that will help you #believe in yourself if you don't already. He's written 4 best-selling books. He's a keynote speaker. He's been named by Forbes as one of the top 40 social marketer talents in the world. He has set 2 world records. I'm going to let him tell you what those world records were in. He uses a trampoline, which was news to me. I used just to see him jumping up and down. He has a stand-up desk. And check this out. If this guy is not a Renaissance man, he owns Canada's largest salsa dancing studio, where he met his wife, Nina. And if you read his latest book, she is incredible. So I encourage you to learn about her. And I fell in love with her, not having spoken to her yet, from Evan's book. And he keeps a large bag of Doritos. Are your Doritos there? In front of him. Why? Because he reminds himself daily that he's stronger than a bag of Doritos. How many of us can say that? And I mentioned he's a husband, he's a dad, and he is a believer in you. So buckle up, because Evan Carmichael is about to take us for a ride. Evan, thank you so much for being here today.
I love it. Thank you, Patty Ann. Great to be here. You're making me blush. So I'm ready to dive in whenever you are.
All right. So Evan, you have done so many things, right? What would you say, who has been the most influential person in your career, and why? Because when I met you, you spoke about the 4 people behind you, but who's the most influential? And why?
My parents. So I've got 5 people. I guess audio listeners can't see this, but in my office, I got 5 giant canvases on the wall behind me. And the one in the middle is me when I'm 8 or 9 years old, and my mom and my dad over me. And this is my reminder as I walk into the office every day. And they were not entrepreneurs. They're not entrepreneurs, still alive, thank you. But they're not entrepreneurs, but they taught me how to be a human. And a lot of the lessons that just how to live, how to treat people, all of that stuff that translated into a lot of business success came from them. So super grateful to have them in my life. That's why they're on my wall. I look at them every morning as I come in. And absolutely, that's when I'm getting ready for this show, I'm like, oh, Patty Ann, I don't know what she's gonna ask me. we'll see. I'm glad the first question was an easy one. I was like, yes, I got this one. My parents.
Who that's a parent on this listening to this episode would not want their children to give that testimony to them? So that is amazing that you feel that way about your parents. And I'm sure they're so proud. They are so proud. I, as a relationship expert, I believe all success is predicated upon the ability to create, nurture, and sustain healthy relationships. And we learn that from the very first social experience we have in our life, which is in our home with our parents. Now, you are uber successful, but like most uber successful people, Evan, you didn't start out this way. So tell us a little bit about your early failures and the people that helped you overcome that. Because entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, if we know nothing, we know that they will fail.
Honestly, I think a lot of it happened early in life, before my first business. So I remember always having these crazy ideas of what I should do. And I always liked money and business for whatever reason. I was always the banker in Monopoly. And I remember
that explains a lot because I was the dog. But go ahead.
Yeah, like one person has to be the banker. And I always like being the banker for whatever reason. I remember early on I had an idea that I was going to do things like lemonade stands and all that. And I did that, and that was fun, and washing cars and everything. But one of my ideas was I was going to turn raisins into grapes and sell them. So I don't know why I thought that, because it's the other way around. Like the grapes are the things that turn into raisins, but in my 8-year-old head or whatever it was flipped. And I'm sitting outside on my door, the doorstop on the front porch, and I have a magnifying glass, and I'm trying to turn these raisins into grapes. And
Evan, I have to interrupt you. You know what I'm visualizing?
Yeah.
You know the commercial it's the claymation where the Raisinets are dancing?
Oh yeah. California raisins.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I love those. Yeah. So I was doing that. I spent half of a Saturday trying to turn my raisins into grapes, and my parents came out. I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, oh, I'm trying to do this. And instead of telling me that it was stupid or wouldn't work or whatever, just kind of encouraged me, but also let me know that it's the other way around. You gotta like, here, take a grape and try to turn it into a raisin.
So they didn't make you feel stupid because you had it backwards. They just asked you what you were doing, and then they course corrected for you without making you feel badly.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love the most about them is they always gave me a shield to be myself and make mistakes. Mm-hmm. I remember early on in one of my art classes, I forget how old I was. This is going like way back. The art teacher had an assignment where we had to draw a window and a boat in, like, on the other side of the window, and a sea or something. And I did it, and I didn't get a great grade on it. I don't think I failed, but I didn't get a great grade on it. And my mom went at the parent teacher interview and asked the teacher about this. And she said, "Well, what did you ask him to do?" I said, "Well, I asked him to make a picture with a boat and a window." It's like, "And is that not what he did?" It's like, but she wasn't happy. My teacher, I guess, wasn't happy. I didn't add more embellishments or whatever to it. But what I took from that was, oh, I'm protected, right? Like I went out into the world and I did something, and I tried to follow the instructions, and I guess I didn't do a good enough job. And my mom protected me and said, "Hey, you did it. You did what she said to do. That's on her. That's not on you." And so there's a lot of encouragement and support. One of my earliest ventures where I started making a little bit of money was in baseball cards. And I remember in 1988, I was 8 years old. Ben Johnson lost the Olympics in the 100-meter dash.
I remember that.
I'm Canadian. He was our golden boy. We were supposed to, win, and he won. Like, oh my God, Ben Johnson won. And then steroids, and it got stripped from him. And I was devastated as this 8-year-old child that this happened. And so my mom went out and she bought me some baseball cards, just as I don't even know where the idea came from. I think maybe the Toronto Blue Jays had just come and opened up, or were about to come to Toronto. I think 88, 89 was the first year for the Blue Jays. And that got me into baseball cards. And all of a sudden I was trading baseball cards. I was going to garage sales. We would go.
Did you flip them?
Oh yeah.
We used to flip them in Brooklyn. We used to flip them.
I was flipping them. I was selling to my friends at school. This is where I learned a lot of my negotiation. Every weekend almost, we would drive in the spring, summer, fall. We'd drive 3 hours out of town to a place called the Orange Tent, which is like this giant flea market. And they had a lot of, maybe a quarter of it were people selling sports cards. And I'm 12 years old, probably at this point. And I'm negotiating with 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds about baseball cards. And my parents didn't really know anything about baseball cards, but they would drive me there every weekend so that I could do my business. And I would come back with, they spent more on gas than I would make in actual profits, but I think it's the lesson. And simple things like our dollar is a coin.
It wasn't the point for them. They were supporting you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, he's got this drive to do this thing, so let's figure out a way to go and help him. My mom would take me to spring training where the baseball players play in the spring because it's too cold here. So they go to Florida. Dunedin, Florida is where the Blue Jays play. And we'd go every year, and I would sit in the parking lot where the players came in, and I would know who they were just by by seeing them drive in, and have their baseball cards and balls ready to go off and sign. And so every maybe 3 or 4 years in a row, we'd go down, and my mom would find, she liked baseball, but wasn't an aficionado, but she saw the drive, and I'm there getting more autographs and collections than the 40 and 50-year-olds again, who are trying to do this we're doing it as their business. And so passion
will always trump anything, right?
Yeah. I think because maybe the context of this show and what you're so great at, why that shield and why that air cover? For my mom growing up, she was born in Italy, and in that era, a woman in Italy in an Italian family had a certain role, and
she was in the kitchen making sauce. No, gravy.
Yeah, well, like, you're supposed to do these things. This is how an Italian woman is supposed to behave, and she wasn't having it.
Good for her.
Like, nope, I don't want to do that, and it caused a lot of conflict with her parents, and ultimately they were proud of all the stuff she did in terms of being the first woman chair of the University of Toronto, and running for politics and winning and multiple riding and all of this stuff, and just having a lot more public life. But she refused to kind of fit into the mold and had to fight for herself and her family. So I think part of that was, hey, for our kids, we're going to not judge them and not tell them what to do. Obviously, there's some standards. So it wasn't just go do whatever you want, but it was every time I didn't do well in school. I remember my sisters would always have straight A's and I'd get B's and C's, and report card time. I'd have to go to their bedroom and have our talk. But it always ended on a positive. It was always, you're Evan Castrilli, Carmichael, you can do anything you believe that you can. And so there were standards to reach, and we had to go off and do something. But what we did wasn't of interest, really. It's like as long as we cared about it, we were passionate about it, they were going to try to find some kind of way to support us through it, which is a lesson that I try to bring as best as I can to, my son. When people ask me, well, is your son going to be an entrepreneur? I was like, I don't know. I don't care. As long as he's happy doing his thing, and I'll try to support him as much as possible. Which leads me to, I'm playing Minecraft with him and learning art and all the stuff that I would not normally do. And I don't think that's me. That's really just my parents kind of flowing through me because they led the way.
I love everything that you said. And I think what you just described, that you're transferring now to your son, you also bring to the entrepreneurs that you help. So what I hear more than anything,
you just gave me, I just shivered a little bit as you said that, just to let you know.
So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's great. Well, it doesn't only resonate. It's
at your core.
Yeah, it's the greatest compliment you could give. It's like what I'm trying to do. I don't even know that I am doing it, but if I could give people what my parents gave me, it's like the ultimate dream. So that's why.
Okay. So here we go. So, oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps now.
Here we go. We're just goosebumping everywhere here, Patty.
Oh my, let's fist bump. Right. Okay. So basically I think what it is it's in your DNA. Let me tell you what I just heard that you said you got from your parents, right? Generation to generation, you're passing it on to your son, but you also have many other people that you're sharing this gift with through your entrepreneurial work. And this is what I heard. Your parents gave you permission to fail, which gave you permission to be vulnerable so that you did not lose trust in yourself and others when things don't go according to plan. And let's face it, for most people, most things don't go according to plan. So is that accurate?
Yeah, I think I mean, as you say it, I'm also thinking, I'm still working on all that stuff. But I think yes, in general, yes.
Okay. Well, I think if we had any one of your gazillion clients listening or on this podcast, they'd be shaking their head like this. Because what I'd like you to do is to tell us how you help your entrepreneurs succeed. Because I think it's rooted in the trust and the vulnerability and the #believe.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think I like to say the belief or lack of belief is the world's biggest problem. I think everybody has what I call Michael Jordan level genius at something, but we're not doing it because we either are too afraid to start, we don't believe in ourselves enough to try, or we don't believe that it will work out. But at the end of the day, you could be great at something, and it's probably not what your parents did, and it's probably not what you went to school for, or what your guidance counselor told you to go off and do. It's something totally different, but you could be the best in the world at something, and you're not because you don't believe in yourself to chase it down. So when I first started on this, I didn't start with belief because I didn't know what I was doing. I think your purpose comes from your pain. So I think whatever you struggle the most with as a human is what you want to help other people with. I'm really just creating all this stuff for 19-year-old Evan, who was struggling to get his first business off the ground. And I know there are millions of people who are 19-year-old Evan right now who need that help. But I started doing it through techniques. It's like, okay, here's what I did. Here's the steps. Here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. Go follow these steps. You can do it too. I am not a genius. I'm introverted and shy and scared and afraid of disappointing people.
Which I was shocked to hear that you're an introvert and that you were shy, because the Evan I first met was jumping on a trampoline and helping everybody on the call at Genius Network. So I was surprised to hear that.
Well, that was a big internal fight for me, and also probably the biggest external fight I had with my agent. And I've got this hardcore New York, Manhattan agent who books me on.
I love it. I saw that. I'm like, go New York.
Kicks my butt and tells me I suck. And all in a very loving, but
he loves
New York,
you. Yes.
Yes. New York way, very different than Canadians. And our biggest fight, like he represents Grant Cardone and Mel Robbins and all these big people who've done amazing things. And our biggest fight was, he's like, Evan, your biggest problem is you don't want to be famous. Like, why is that a problem? I think that's great. Why do I have to want to be famous? I'm introverted, dude. I don't need to be the guy. And we fought for years on this until he explained it in a way, and more likely I was just finally more receptive, or something happened that just allowed me to hear it better, where it's not even about me, it's about the message. And the more people who know me get to hear the message. And once I
think that's it. Knowing you, Evan, you were uncomfortable with it being about you, but when you realized it was more about your gift that people needed, then I think it was helpful to you, because you probably know this, but many, many actors and actresses are introverted. And you're shocked to hear that.
Yeah. And I didn't even, you don't think about it when you look at it. Because when I looked at, YouTube videos or TV or whatever, you would see Kevin O'Leary and Mark Cuban, or at least inside my world of entrepreneurship, or Donald Trump or whoever. And they're all
we hear the Canadian plug, except for the last one. Go ahead.
Mark Cuban's not Canadian.
No, he's not. But Kevin
O'Leary is. Yeah. Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah. Excuse me.
But they're very, they appear at least to be very brash and very like they're the center of the show and have to be heard and spotlights on them. And like, then that's great. Just like, but I don't connect to that. Like, that's not, I don't want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's distasteful to you because
I don't know that it's distasteful. It's just, I don't connect to it. I just don't want to be, I don't enjoy being the center of attention. It doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
But where it started to shift was, well, I still want to serve, like I still want to feel like what I do matters to people and that I wake up and I'm having a meaningful impact. And so, whereas I've had to learn to harness the power of the introvert and figure this stuff out as I go, but also learn from other introverts and that, okay, so I don't like networking meetings. I hate small talk. I don't talk to the guy next to me on the airplane, all of that stuff. But I love meaningful conversations. And I can get, like, I see Patty Ann in my calendar, like, this is going to be amazing. Let's go. And so how do you show up with that energy? Well, I don't know. I think introverts still want to serve. Introverts still want to have meaningful connections. Introverts still want to feel like what they do matters. And the more I can tap into that, then my energy and enthusiasm that is in everybody comes out. So that was years of, I wish I knew you 10 years ago. Like, things would have been so much better.
No, listen, as you know, you're ready. What is it? The teacher appears when the student is ready, sure. Right? Or I want to do a segue here, which is what I love talking with you because you never know where it's going to go. So how do you think everything you just described, coming out of your shell, but being an introvert, right? We believing in ourselves is being true to ourselves. We're not changing who we are to serve others. We're serving others as we are, right? Mm-hmm. And that's critical, the authenticity, the genuineness. How did you segue that to salsa dancing?
Oh, wow. That was not where I was expecting that to go.
I know.
This is great. This is why you got to subscribe to Dr. Patty Ann to get the left field questions. This is great. Salsa dancing. I never learned to dance growing up. I always felt kind of awkward at a club or whatever dancing. And in university, I decided, okay, I want to learn how to dance. And so there was a ballroom class that I took with my then girlfriend, not Nina. And we signed up and took the class, and she never really liked it. We went a couple lessons, maybe a semester, and then she didn't want to do it anymore. And it was the kind of class where you have to go with a partner. And so I didn't have a partner, and I didn't want to ask another girl to be my partner when I'm in a relationship. It didn't feel right.
Yeah, you could get in a lot of trouble doing that, Evan. Just saying. Yeah.
So it's okay. So that's the end of that. Whatever. Fine. There's other things to do. But then when we ended up breaking up, one of the things I said was, well, I can go dancing again. Like, why don't I go learn some dancing? And salsa dancing is the easiest dance to be able to pick up as a solo person. So what I mean by that is when you're dancing, it's part of the culture to switch partners all the time. So even if you come as a married couple, it would still be normal to dance with other guys for you and other women for me, which is part of the culture. Now, some people stay together, but for the most part, the culture is very interchangeable.
It's part of the energy, I would imagine.
Yes. And ballroom is very specific. It's like you've got your one partner. Salsa is more of a street dance. And I just fell in love with it. Now, on paper, I'm too tall. I take big steps. I don't speak Spanish. I didn't learn this growing up. All of the things that you could say are logical reasons why you shouldn't do it. And I think a lot of us live in the world of, well, I can't do that and I shouldn't do that without ever even trying. And I wasn't even very good at the beginning either because a lot of those reasons, but I just loved it. There's something about it, like, this is amazing. I signed up for 2 different schools to go learn because I was a slow learner at it, but just to pick it up and I love meeting people. I love the connection. I think also learning a new skill that you thought was too difficult also is how you build belief in yourself to say, well, I can't do that. But then you see that you can, raises your belief level to do other things. So that made me a better entrepreneur. That gave me more.
So in parentheses, if we have time, so you had a growth mindset. If we have time to talk about that, right? It wasn't what you were good at naturally. It was growing?
I think I've cultivated too, and I've gotten better at it over the years. I wouldn't just say like, hey, popped out of the womb, growth mindset, way to go. I've had to teach myself to, there are things that are triggers for me now, like 3 words: scary, difficult, hard. If I say those, think those, write those, I have to go do that thing because I want to teach
All together or one at a time?
Any of them. Like
Okay.
if you said, hey, Evan, you should go do X. And I said, oh, that's really hard. Okay. Now I got to do it because I don't want to accept hard as a reason to not do. Right.
Hence the Dorito bags.
Yeah. Like the Dorito is a crazy, that there are some things with me that are easy to connect with, like introverted, shy, humble, Canadian, whatever. And there are others that are more difficult to connect with. So the Doritos bag is one of the more challenging things to connect with because that's more of a hard push, where when you're on a diet, the usual strategy is get rid of the food, get rid of junk food from your house. That's what people always say. And I think that's a good first step, but you're basically walking on crutches. So when you break your leg, you use crutches. Yes, awesome. But your goal is to be able to walk and to run and to live a normal life. So if you can only win when you're in your perfect environment, well, what happens when you go on a cruise or office party or vacation? You just pounding back the food.
Right. Because it's not about the diet. You want to change your lifestyle. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah. And where it flipped for me, and this is not something that I give as a prescription because I think it's harder for people to comprehend, but I feel personally like getting rid of the Doritos is me telling myself that I suck. That I can't handle it.
You can't
do it. Be around it. That I can't do it. And I hate making decisions that make me feel worse about myself. If I need to do it in the short term, okay. But immediately my brain is like, I need to bring this back. It's like if I couldn't wake up to the alarm and people say, put the cell phone in the other room in the kitchen or something. I hate that. Like if that was me, like, no, I'm going to have it right next to me and I'm going to not hit snooze. I'm going to get up. And so the Doritos bag.
Because that would represent failure to you. Sounds like that. Oh, I can't do it. And you're not going to fail.
Fail. A version of failure.
Okay.
The word failure doesn't quite resonate, but yes, like it's a version of failure. I think it's a lack of belief.
I see what doesn't work because your parents did give you permission to fail.
Yeah. Like if I come on and I like, if I'm scared to come and do this show, right? And like, oh my gosh, Patty Ann, I hope she cancels on me. What am I going to answer? I get nervous, right? And I feel my heart. So scary, difficult, hard is one. The other is I have a boom, boom, boom test, which is if my heart is beaten out of my chest, that's a physical manifestation of scary, difficult, hard, which means I have to go do that thing too. So I used to want people to cancel on me. Like if I saw you, I'd say, yes, in 2 months, we'll do this thing. But then I'd see like, oh my God, Patty Ann today, I hope she cancels. I don't want to disappoint her. This is going to be terrible. Boom, 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 boom. Physical sign, I have to go off and do it. Even if I showed up and vomited all over my microphone and the camera because I was so nervous, I would still mentally reward myself to say, you did the hard thing. Like, even though it's a failure, right? Like, oh my gosh, it's a disaster of an interview.
Well, you know what it is? You accepted the challenge, even if you didn't knock it out of the park. And I do want to comment on what you said about visceral. Okay. Anytime we have a visceral physical reaction, that is our body tells us what our mind forgot. Anytime we ignore that, we do ourselves a disservice. Right. But bring it full circle now to, pun intended, with the salsa dancing. Right.
Okay.
So the connection between what you learned to be vulnerable and to trust yourself, how that showed up in the salsa dance. Because I was thinking when you said, you were in the natural, it reminds me of me. I've never met anybody that sucked at a sport so much as I suck at golf and still love it. I don't care. I don't care that I'm terrible at it. I absolutely love it and I enjoy it. Now, for whenever we start something, usually we're not good at it. Even if we have a Michael Jordan talent, we still have to nurture that. But that's where the belief and the vulnerability and the trust comes in, correct?
Yeah. And I think what I try to do when I start something is I just expect to suck.
Keep the expectations low, the bar low.
Like zero. Like I expect to suck. I expect it to be terrible. And the difference that I had to over time evolve in my brain was the fact that I suck at something doesn't mean that I suck as a human.
Right.
In fact, it's the opposite. The fact that I'm willing to try and suck at the thing makes me amazing as a human. Mm-hmm. At least this is what I'm telling myself. Like as I'm my Canadian to me is like saying, "Oh my God, why am I saying I'm amazing as a human?" So like, but this is the actual conversation in my head. And I just expect what I do to suck at the beginning. I think this is where people really struggle, is because they might see, you want to start a YouTube channel. Perfect. You might look at my channel or whoever's got a big channel, and you say, okay, I'm not going to be that level. If you're going to start a show, I'm not going to be Oprah Winfrey level yet. That's fine. I don't expect to be there. But if Oprah's like an A+, I expect to at least be like, I think I'm a B-, like I think I got some skills. I got something. And then you go and you do your first interview and you get nervous and you're a total wreck and the whole thing is a disaster. And you didn't expect to be Oprah, but you didn't expect to be an F either. You expected to be like a B-. And so you end up performing way worse than your own expectations. And that's where we often will quit. Where for me, I just expect it to be an F. And as long as I don't vomit all over my microphone, like, hey, this is a win, let's go. Because with anything, it's just a skill. And how do you get better at a skill? You got to practice. So don't expect your first thing to be a home run, knock out of the park, whatever analogy we want to use. Just expect it to totally suck. Awesome. Now let's keep going. And I would split it between.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I would just split it between when you mention golf or what if I mention salsa dancing, that's you keep going because you like it. Mm-hmm. And you'll get better at golf. You may never be PGA, whatever, but you're better than you were a year ago. You know, you know the difference between the clubs. You know what a putter is. And I don't know anything about golf either, so I don't have many.
Believe me, I probably know this much, a little bit more than you.
But you're better at it than you were before. Mm-hmm. You know, Patty Ann now could tell Patty Ann a year ago some knowledge. Mm-hmm. And you keep going because you love it, and it's fun, and you it's not about competing, but it's about doing the thing, which was salsa dancing for me. But so that's one category. The other category is I don't even love it, but I want to do it just for the challenge of doing it, just to show myself that I do the challenges. So an example, my school, my salsa school, the team, we have a dance team and they won.
By the way, what's the school called, Evan?
Oh, it's called Toronto Dance Salsa.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Toronto, it's our city. Toronto Dance Salsa.
Okay, people want to check it out.
If you're in Toronto, well, everything's closed right now because of COVID and all that. But when we open up,
too shall pass. Sooner or later, people will be listening. Salsa dance is like the least COVID-friendly business on the planet because you're dancing with strangers. You know. Anyway, yes. But my dance team won a local competition, and so we took them out to. It was mostly women, and so we took them to a nail salon to celebrate. Like, hey, we'll pay for everybody to get the nails done. And they had a man manicure or something. So I went and I did the man manicure. And one of the women joked, "Hey, Evan, you going to get your nails done too? Like the real manicure?" And I'm like, "No, that's not an expression of me," which is the only actual acceptable answers. Like that's how I choose. I don't express myself that way. But a good chunk of the answer was, I can't do that. That's way too You're scary. Getting a man's manicure.
Right? That's way too scary. And because that was even a quarter of the decision, now I had to do it. Not because I loved it, not because I love having my nails done, but because I was afraid of it subconsciously, and it came to my conscious, I had to say yes and do it. So I got my nails painted orange.
And what color? We have to know the color.
It was matching my brand. And so I said, "Hey, can you match my brand?" I was wearing my hoodie. "Can you match my brand?" So I had it painted orange. I had them I said, "Can you do racing stripes on it?" So we put some racing stripes on it. And so I walked out with my nails painted. And now I immediately understand women with their nails painted, because the first thing we had to do was then go to our car. And I'm like, I don't want to get my nails ruined. So I asked Nina, can you open the car door for me? Because I don't want to ruin these. You're a pro. I'm a noob at this. And then I would catch myself of I'm going to my concierge downstairs to get my package, and I'm hiding my nails, right? Because I'm embarrassed. So like now I got to put it out just because. I took a picture on Instagram and posted it like this with my nails, right? Like how are people going to see me? Oh my gosh, this is not who I am. But because I was afraid of it, I had to go off and do it. And then the last part of that was, well, then what started happening? At the beginning, the guys thought I was crazy and the women loved it who are on the dance team, right? Then what started happening was over the next couple of days, weeks, what happened? The nails started to chip, right? This is what happens. I mean, I didn't know, but now I experienced it. My nails were chipping. Now I could see
the things you learn, the things we learn.
So all my women friends were then saying, "Oh, Evan, your nails are chipping. You need to either take it off or go do it again." And I mean, that was love coming from them. But in my own mind, I thought, "Oh, this is another challenge where like, you know what? Because people think that way, I am going to just keep it on all the way until it chips to zero." And it looked like I had like some infectious disease or something on my nails. It's like, why are some of your hands orange and not but I wanted to teach myself to eat the potential judgment, because at least in my own head, as long as I'm making decisions based off of other people's expectations of me, then I lose. And that's where I think a lot of belief comes. And so yes to golf, and yes to salsa dancing, and yes to things that we end up enjoying and loving, and we do just because we love and enjoy it. And also the weird, crazy part of me is yes, just because. Like, yes, it's not even yes, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's yes, feel the fear and do it because that exists, because I'm afraid, because you might judge me and that bothers me. I want to go off and attack it. And I think people, well, how does that relate to business? Well, because I'm afraid of getting on stage, because I'm afraid of making content, because I'm afraid of asking somebody for something. It's the same fear as the nails. And so it's not just some one monumental moment. I think it's a daily fight that we have with ourselves to build credibility with ourselves, to prove to ourselves that we are the kind of person that we say we are, and we want to stay consistent and congruent with that. And so, I'm constantly looking at different things, and anytime I can catch myself and feel this is a decision is making me feel worse or weaker about myself, I have to go off and do it just because.
Well, I think what you said is, I think there's an expression, something along the lines of courage is an absence of fear, but you show courage in spite of the fear, right? You do it anyway. So for the listeners that can so relate to being, not believing in themselves, and they can't do it right, and they will fail. What is the one initial takeaway you can give them that helped you overcome that? This is hard. Now I have to do it. What's the one thing you can share with them?
Yeah, I would give you a 1A, 1B, but my 1A would be expect to suck.
Sure, give 1B too then. Give
okay,
1B too.
1A is expect to suck. Like, just,
okay.
It's not going to work. Don't expect to pick up a golf. Like, you watch golf on TV, you see these people do it, men, women, they're crushing. It's awesome. Look at how hard can that be? And then you have no idea what you're doing. You don't even hit the ball. I remember I'm hitting the grass. How do you even hit the ball?
Yeah. That's sort of kind of where I am. That's like how bad I am.
Yeah. It's like, just expect to suck, because then when you do suck, and then reward the fact that you try, right? Instead of rewarding the result, it's rewarding the effort that you showed up, that you tried and you did the difficult thing, right? I think that's where self-belief comes from. If you only reward the winning, then you stay small for life, because you only do things that you're going to win at. I
know you have a 1B, but I want to emphasize that, because I think in life and business, you hear nobody rewards effort, they reward results. You're turning that around. Reward the effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true in a business context, in terms of getting results, but in terms of your own, I flip it internally, because why? The more that you reward the effort and then you keep going, you will get the results. Do results matter? Of course. But how do you get the momentum to keep getting the results? Well, you have to have the encouragement, the courage, and the permission to start. And so the people who succeed the most have failed the most. We're so afraid to fail that we don't even try. And so if you tie your self-worth, this is like, I think your business value will come from the results that you're getting. Your self-worth value comes from the effort that you're putting in. If you only do things where you know you're going to win, you play small for life and you end up hating your life because now you're just inside your comfort zone doing all the stuff that you know you can win. Like you can go, could you beat a bunch of 3-year-olds in a race? Yes. Congratulations. Here's your gold medal. Great.
Yeah, so what?
Post it on Instagram and showcase how awesome you are. And then you cry in the bathroom hating your life, right? Because you're not doing anything that you feel challenged by. But by doing the challenging things, you will lose, you will fail, you will not get results at the beginning. So how do you keep going? Well, you say, I'm awesome for trying, right? And if you keep doing that, you will eventually get it. So
1A,
expect to suck. Expect to suck.
And 1B?
1B is model success. And I think having the environment around you that makes you feel like hope is possible, I think really, really matters. I was super fortunate to have parents who gave me air cover, who gave me the shield, who helped me believe in myself. If you don't have that, awesome. Go build it for yourself. We're in the age of the internet. Like subscribe to Patty Ann's podcast. You'll get that. You'll get that injection every time she releases an episode. You can now choose who you're letting into your head. And we let in a lot of negative voices. That I believe that voice of yours that tells you you can't do this, you suck. That's not even your voice. I think that was planted in you. That's somebody else's voice. And Patty Ann's the expert here, but this is what I tell myself. Like that negative voice is, I wasn't born thinking I suck. Right. That was put in my head by people around me and by media and by what I consumed. So I can flip it by being around positivity and belief. It's why I share so much positive content in what I try to create every day. It's why I got goosebumps at the beginning when you said, what you're doing for the world is what your mom and parents did for me. It's like, that's the goal and the intent. So you can choose. Do an audit. Look at who you follow on YouTube. Look at who you follow on Instagram. Look at who you listen to on podcasts. Do they make you feel better about yourself? When you close that video, do you feel better or worse about yourself? And unfollow the people who make you feel worse. If you're just watching Instagram and you're FOMOing out that all these people have all these great things and your life sucks, you can unfollow those people. Patty Ann has an Instagram account. Go follow her. You're going to feel better about yourself.
I do.
Right?
I think what you're saying, Evan, is toxicity breeds toxicity. Positivity breeds positivity. And you're 1,000% about how we speak to ourselves. And the important thing for people to remember is our brain doesn't know what's true or what's not true. So whatever we tell ourselves, it will come to fruition. I have 2 really, really important questions, if I may, before we go. I have to ask you these questions.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. The first one is, what is a major misconception people have about you that you would prefer to not correct?
A major misconception people have about me that I would prefer not. I don't even know what that means. That I prefer not to.
You don't want to let them know otherwise. Let them think it.
Let them think. Oh, I hate that. I would much rather. No, I'd much rather like ask me what I love about this. And I was so excited about this is you're going to ask me questions that I haven't answered before and force my brain to hemorrhage a little bit and trying to find the answers. I would much rather pull back the curtain on things. And I don't appreciate or even respect enough of the things that are in my story that could be inspiring. Cause I think, okay, that was just my life. It's not anything super special, but in you uncovering it or other people uncovering it is like, oh, I get a chance to share something else that I haven't. And maybe the way that I share it this time is the way that has the impact that I'm after. So no, I'd much rather be more open book and more like, here's how I suck at a million different things than the other way. Reason gazillion. Yeah. Why Evan is in a class of his own. And here's my next question that I absolutely will make you answer though. Okay. But I feel like I answered that last one, Patty. You did. You did. What is the number one thing you learned in life that you want people to know? That it's just a lack of belief. Like everything that you want out of life is possible if you believe in it more. And it doesn't mean just like pray and it's going to come true. You got to do the work, but it's all possible. I'm one of the things that help. I'll actually give you two quick things that might help, like tactical, because believe can be kind of airy fairy. Like, okay.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. Yeah. One of the best piece of advice that Mel Robbins gave me was that jealousy is a directional signal. That whatever you're jealous of, there's something in that person that you actually like and that you want more yourself. You may not be the exact way that they did it. Like Steve Jobs is on my wall because I love how he built his business. He's a visionary, but he's not a father like my father. So I want to be a visionary like Steve and a father like my father, not the other way around. But if you're struggling to figure out like what do you want out of life? Where do you want to go? You don't like your life right now, but you don't know what you want. You have a hard time making a list of goals. Look at who you're jealous of and try to pinpoint, well, what is the thing that you're actually jealous of? Because that's a directional signal towards creating a better life for yourself.
That's great, because what I tell people is when we're like things that might bother you might not bother me and vice versa. And many times things that we're critical of with another person, there's some truth to that for ourselves. So it's very similar to that, what you just said.
Yeah. And then the other one that helps in terms of belief is I believe that the ideas that come to you when you're feeling bold, powerful, courageous are actually the right ones for you. If you listen to this episode and you're feeling pumped up, like, oh my God, this is amazing. You've kind of raised your energy level. Whatever comes to your mind next, I believe is the right thing for you. And then your brain starts getting in the way and tells you all the reasons why you can't do it. So when you go on vacation or when you're with your friend or when we have these moments where we get pulled up, where we feel like, oh my God, things are possible. And you come up with these great ideas for yourself. And then it's not even telling your friends or your family about this idea and them telling you that it sucks. It's ourselves telling ourselves that we can't do it. I'm going to launch this show. It's amazing. I'm going to have all these people on. We're going to spread all this goodness in the world. And then you wake up the next day. It's like, I can't do that. Are you kidding me? I can't do what gear am I going to buy? I suck on camera. I'm the most introverted person. Who did I think I was that I could do that? And that's where we're just living by default. And so what I've tried to do is just shortcut that, where I'm getting an idea. I trust that ideas that come to me are good and I go do something about them. As long as I'm in a positive state. Like I think when you're in a negative state, you're feeling anger or rage or jealousy or whatever. Don't trust those instincts because you're probably going to do something that you regret. But that's what we end up doing. When we're in a negative state, we listen to our intuition, our negative intuition, and do something stupid. But then when we're in our positive, upbeat, courageous state, we get these ideas. And then we don't do it. And then we regret that, the next day, the next year, the next month, et cetera. So when you feel bold, powerful, courageous, unstoppable, happy, and an idea comes to you, just trust that idea is actually good for you. And you have to go do something about it.
I think that's great. And to wrap this up, I think because for most people, it's not it's an uncomfortable place to be. Maybe they're more afraid than they are trusting and believing in themselves. So that's why with the fear they act on, because it's a comfortable, familiar feeling. But the positive stuff is not as comfortable and familiar. That's why they need you to believe in themselves. So,
well, or just trigger words like comfort and fear. Those are not good enough reasons. Not anymore, right? The fact that you want to be comfortable, it's not a good enough reason. The fact that you're scary, difficult, hard, right? Scary, fear, not a good enough reason. We've accepted them as a good enough reason. Well, I'm afraid of that. Okay. And because most of the things we're afraid of are not like, don't go jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, right? That's just stupid, right? But most of the things that we're afraid of are other people's opinions. Yes. It's not even fear of failing. It's fear of failing in front of somebody else.
What will they think? What will they say? You'll
sing in the shower, but you won't sing on the street corner. Why? Because you might, fail in public and people will see. And anytime you can catch that in your life, and I'm still learning this and I'm still doing this, and it's a daily battle, but anytime you can catch it, it teaches you to believe more in yourself.
Well, I think this is great. And as life goes on, it's a process. It's a journey. so people can always grow in their belief in themselves. So thank you so much, Evan, for all of the wisdom that you shared with us today. We are so privileged to have had you. And for everybody listening, this concludes today's episode of The Trust Doctor, Restoring Trust and Enriching Significant Relationships. And since I know you enjoyed all of Evan's wisdom, I would love for you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to today's podcast.